Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Monday, August 10th. I am Jeremy Wolf, former minor league baseball player, former Olympic qualifier, your host, and the founder of Open Athletes, which we will get to a lot more on today's episode. Coming up today, a baseball team just sold for the most money anyone has ever paid for a Major League Baseball franchise, but not as much as what an NFL franchise goes for. We will certainly discuss. One of the biggest media companies on earth reported a quarter that tells you exactly where the money is moving. Tom Brady is quietly turning a trading card shop into a 100-store chain. Tom Brady, the trading card mogul, if that's where the money's moving. Mark Cuban is in a very public fight over an arena he used to own that the team plays in. FIFA tried to quietly sell off a piece of the World Cup and touched off a full leadership crisis. And Toto Wolff just sold a sliver, about 5% of Mercedes, or is trying to, at a valuation that would make every athlete rethink what ownership is worth. And certainly the casual sports fan, F1 is worth that much? Yeah, I'm going to sell a portion of my team. It's Money in Markets Monday. The through line is going to matter for us, former professional college Olympic athletes. Where is the money moving for us? Where are the opportunities for us? But first, our quick hits. Jannik Sinner joined Carlos Alcaraz in withdrawing from the Cincinnati Open, and now the biggest draws in men's tennis are both nursing question marks weeks before the U.S. Open. Availability is the whole product in tennis. When the stars sit, the gate, the ratings, and the sponsor value all move at once. Say why that scares. Our tour built around two guys. Tour is built around two guys. It used to be built around Federer and Nadal. Djokovic, sure, three. But when Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz are sitting out the Cincinnati Open, yes, it is probably in preparation for the U.S. Open, of course, certainly. But when the U.S. Open itself is the biggest draw in American tennis, when Wimbledon is the biggest draw in European tennis, there's the French Open, there's the Australian Open. Just like in golf, we talk about all the time in golf. Is golf putting too much of itself inside of the majors? So it's 4 weeks a year, 4 weekends a year. Tennis tournaments are longer, but 4 weekends a year where it's relevant to watch golf. All four of the majors. Fifth major. No one's watching the FedEx Cup. I don't even understand the FedEx Cup. How are you going from week to week to week to do the playoffs, the FedEx Cup, and then there's tournaments after that? Makes no sense to me. Quick number 2. Clay Travis is reportedly launching a new sports media outfit before football season. Another sign that the smart money in media is going small, owned, and audience first. Whoa, we're small, owned, and audience first. A former, current, and Olympic professional athletes. That's us. Niche down. Now, am I speaking directly to only athletes? No, I think there's a lot that me as an athlete can share with you as an athlete, or me as an athlete that can share with you as a non-athlete. But niching down is very important. I take a lot of what we do from the guys at TBPN. I think TBPN, I watched their first, in preparation for doing all of this, I watched their first 30 shows. Then I said, okay, where can we take it from a sports business angle? Then I watched their last 30 shows. Okay, where can we do this from a sports business angle? Where can we make this fun? Where can we make this exciting? The reason why we're doing this is because TBPN, technology boys, colleagues of mine now, are doing this type of thing, but in technology, in startups. And I said, well, athletes are moving in the same way. And I wanted to have something daily where we can talk together and have a conversation every single day about the things that are happening in sports. And I think it's a great model. And it's been a lot of fun. Last week was like one of the best weeks that I've had in my building something career, just from all of the feedback, and that was amazing. So that's why. I mean, you want to know why? That's why we're doing all this, is because sports and athletes, we needed a place to have the conversation every single day. Quick hit number 3, Front Office Sports laid out how India is quietly taking cricket's power and money away from England and Australia, and it's a preview of what happens when billion-fan audience decides it wants ownership, not just eyeballs. Distribution follows attention. We talk about this every single day. Riff on where the fans are, and then the money eventually goes there. Do I understand cricket? No. One of my best friends in the whole world. Hopefully we'll have him on soon. Callum Squires from England goes, we're going to watch this, and we're going to watch test cricket. Oh, test what? Oh, it's not the longer cricket. It's shorter cricket. Oh, okay. This is pretty long. I don't understand. So they're hitting with the stick? And it hits backwards. And this is how people feel about baseball, and I totally understand it. Oh, so you hit a ball with the stick, and then you run back and forth. But I have watched some of these cricket games. Sometimes my wife and I go on to the ESPN app. We have the, again, we don't have the ESPN Plus app, but we'll watch like a cricket highlight, and it is just like, what? So they had to, okay, so they don't have gloves, and then they're running, and then there's a circle, and then you just, and then, and it's exciting, and I understand why a billion fans watch it, and I understand why a billion Indians watch it. Yes. And the money's moving in that direction. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Quick hit number 4. Caitlin Clark dodges a suspension. The WNBA rescinded a technical foul on Caitlin Clark, so she avoids a suspension, and the league quietly protected its single most valuable asset. Note. Gently. Oh, that's a note for me. Note. That a league bending over backwards to keep one star on the floor tells you exactly how concentrated her value is, or the value is. Caitlin Clark is the league. The league is Caitlin Clark. I like watching Caitlin Clark. Some people don't like watching Caitlin Clark. I think the WNBA is handling Caitlin Clark and their stars very interestingly, but they have stars, and maybe it's because they don't know how to handle them. But there's a lot of tussling in Caitlin Clark games, and I get why. I totally get why. But I think the league should at least do more to make it as even as possible, so Caitlin Clark doesn't always end up on the ground. But if she's pulling technical fouls, there's got to be a reason why either A, she's doing that retaliating, or B, was it that serious to begin with? Haven't seen the highlight. We'll watch. Aaron Donald is reportedly exploring a media future, even as a potential Rams return floats around. The classic move of an athlete testing whether his voice is worth more than his snaps. They're a little corny. Retired or not, the audience you build is an asset. His media future is a distribution future. Where does his business prospects fit? Is it worth coming back for the year? I would say yes. I would say come back for the year, play with Myles Garrett, see if the Rams can win another Super Bowl. But he retired the year they won the Super Bowl. Should you come back? Is it worth coming back? Is it worth starting this business, doing things that help the business grow? I'm excited to see what Aaron Donald does. Because if Aaron Donald can do it, other athletes who have the personality like Aaron Donald, which is not as flamboyant as others, can they build media companies? What does it mean to build a media company? Is it just a YouTube channel with content? Or is it a real, we're producing documentaries, shows, network things, stuff on ESPN, whatever it is. Remember the Players Tribune? I love the Players Tribune. When Derek Jeter started the Players Tribune, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, I thought it was awesome. Where's that been? People still using it? Athletes can go direct to an audience now. Is there a need to have the Players Tribune? What is Aaron Donald saying, the Players Tribune? I should come back and do the Players Tribune. I would love to see what the deal is with the Players Tribune now. That would be amazing. The show presented by Athletes Fund.
Home run.
Athletes Fund is presenting Open Athletes, the venture fund that backs current and former athletes building real companies with capital, plus a network that actually gets you your world. If you're an athlete building something real, the room to do it in is Athletes Fund. Thank you, Athletes Fund, for producing our show. The Padres just set the most expensive price tag in baseball history. And I didn't write this in the script. Padres just set the most expensive price tag in baseball history at $3.9 billion. The Seattle Seahawks were sold for $6.8 billion. Now, I'm not saying NFL is more popular than Major League Baseball. Seattle Seahawks just sold for $6.8 billion. The San Diego Padres just sold for $3.9 billion. In sports, these are huge price tags. Huge. I don't know. San Diego Padres were purchased. I don't know the exact number. Let's say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, for less than $1 billion. The enormity of these price tags in sports, multiple billions of dollars, especially San Diego Padres, who haven't won in a very long time, who are good and have a big market and a market you want to invest and reinvest in. Seattle Seahawks are in the NFL. There's only 30 owners in the NFL. You want to be one of those owners if you have multiple billions of dollars. But $3.9 billion when we're talking about technology businesses is like a Series B startup. That's Series A. No, now Series A and AI, sure. Series B. Which is, it's crazy it's apples and oranges, right? Dropbox is worth how many tens of billions, and they are more valuable because they have more users, more customers, and more whatever, blah, blah, the San Diego Padres. But it's funny to put it together. Okay. The San Diego Padres, a mid-market, don't fight me, mid-market team in the fourth largest metro in California, are selling for $3.9 billion. And it's not the Dodgers or the Yankees. The Dodgers or the Yankees would go for more, obviously. I was going to say double, maybe not double. And it's the most anyone has ever agreed to pay for a Major League Baseball franchise on our Money and Markets Monday. That is what we're going to talk about for our first block. Per ESPN and Sportico, Clear Lake Capital co-founder Jose E. Feliciano and his wife Kwanzaa Jones are buying the Padres for a record in the Major League Baseball, $3.9 billion. Per Bloomberg, Major League Baseball owners gave the deal initial approval in early August, and the new owners are set to take control in mid-August. For context, that $3.9 billion tops the $2.4 billion Steve Cohen paid for the Mets in 2020, which was itself a record at the time. Are the Padres in a better market than the New York Mets? No. New York. But to go for $1 billion more? We talk about setting the value of an asset here a lot. Sometimes athletes are underpaid. Sometimes they're overpaid. Sometimes they're not worth their value. Sometimes they are worth their value. On the whole, given our sports knowledge, everything we know about Major League Baseball, the money in Major League Baseball, when we see the number $3.9 billion, is that too much for the San Diego Padres? Is that not enough? Or the money doesn't matter because all it's about is being an owner of the team. Feliciano and Jones won the bidding back in the spring, beating out other groups before the price landed at $3.9 billion. Now, here's why this matters to you and not just the billionaires. 6 years ago, the record was $2.4 billion for a team in New York. Today's $3.9 billion for a team in San Diego, California. And I said mid-market. They spend like a big market club. San Diego's a one-horse town. It's a one-horse sports town, unfortunately. Rest in peace, San Diego Chargers. I'm going back and forth on whether it's a mid-market or large market or not. Yes, it's a mid-market. In Southern California, it's a mid-market. They spend like it's on the border. It's roughly a 60% jump in the ceiling price of a Major League Baseball team in half a decade. It's for a franchise that has never won a World Series. When the floor and the ceiling both move like that, it's telling you something about what these assets actually are. Luxury. They're luxury purchases. They're status symbols for people who have the ability to buy Major League Baseball teams. Large market teams. Baseball team is no longer just a baseball team. It's a media asset. It's a real estate asset. It's a private equity vehicle. It's a data business. All wrapped up in the oeuvre that is the San Diego Padres, which, when we think about gold and burgundy, I'm mean, I'm very fond of growing up in Arizona, watching San Diego Padres games a lot growing up. Plant this now. We pay it off in the close. Every story today that we're going to talk about is really about a multiple, the number the market is willing to pay for the same thing it paid less for last year. Major League Baseball clubs, all major professional sports franchises are going up in value. It is an asset class worth investing in when you have the money to invest in it, when it's not a big deal to raise and spend $3.9 billion. But when they sell it in 10, 15, 20 years, and maybe they never do, the value is not going to be less than $3.9 billion. The value of Major League Baseball is only going up. Okay, so who is Feliciano? Feliciano runs a firm that manages tens of billions in assets. This is the same private capital money that's been rolling up franchises across every league. They're not buying the Padres because they love Petco Park. And Petco Park is top 5 places to watch a game in baseball. They're buying because they believe the enterprise value keeps compounding, which it does. The money is moving into sports. The value of these teams, the eyeballs, the luxury, the status of owning these teams is higher. It's going up in real time. Owning a team means owning the distribution that the Padres have. You are now in the room with Major League Baseball owners. You are now a mid-market owner. So now you're the new guy, right? Like, it's so fun. It's just hearing these owners talk, these conversations that these owners have with each other, how they're trying to beat each other more than just in business. Now they're all here. Happens in every league. The lesson isn't go buy a team for you athletes. The lesson is that the value in sports is migrated from the field to the cap table. The players generate the product. The owners capture the compounding. And the quiet good news is we will keep watching all of this. But the ownership table has never had more seats. The checks don't all have to be 9 figures anymore. I'm a former minor league baseball player. I have no opportunity to sit on the cap table at the San Diego Padres. However, there are many, many minor league teams coming up, and where can I provide value to those owners, and where can I get a piece of the action? Where can you, wherever you are at in your professional career or not, do you want to be part of the ownership stake in a professional sports franchise? Think about it. Think about it in your area. USL team moves in. They're looking for investors. You have the ability to participate in whatever way. Do you wanna say I part own the Phoenix Rising? Not saying no. Not saying it's not sexy. It's up to you. It's up to you where you want to spend your money. But look at where now USL. I don't know if the franchise value now. If there's a pyramid, yeah, franchise value is going up. Is franchise value in the USL going up? Is franchise value in Major League Baseball going up? Yes. So it's, the top 4, it's top 5. Is $3.9 billion for the Padres a sign of a healthy market or a bubbly, frothy one? Well, we can't say. Look at the last sale. The Mets, full sale. The Mets. The A's are in the process of being sold for over $1 billion. If the A's go for more than the New York Mets, I don't think they will. But if the A's, they might, right? Because look at the upside of Las Vegas. Whew. It's exciting stuff. I love this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. What's it going to be? What's it going to be in 5 years? What's the value of these teams? What's the value of these things going up? San Diego Padres. Finalizing sale for MLB record $3.9 billion. The San Diego Padres on the verge of being sold for a record price of $3.9 billion to Jose Feliciano, co-owner of Chelsea Football Club, and his wife, Kwanzaa Jones, a source confirmed to ESPN on Friday. The sale price easily tops previous record of $2.4 billion, like we discussed with Steve Cohen, who purchased the New York Mets, which felt, look, $2.4 billion is a lot of money, but for the New York Mets, it was a lot of money at the time. Did he underpay for the New York Mets? Did he underpay for the New York Mets? At the time, 2020, $2.4 billion? I would say maybe. Or maybe not. Wall Street Journal first reported the news, adding that Feliciano will be designated as the controlling owner. Feliciano, 53, is a co-founder and managing partner of Clear Lake Capital, private equity firm based in Santa Monica, California. In 2022, Clear Lake, Todd Boehly, part owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, led a consortium that purchased Chelsea for $5.24 billion. They own Chelsea, San Diego Padres. San Diego Padres is like kind of the Chelsea of Major League Baseball. Really loud. Doesn't go far. Obviously, Chelsea had their heyday in the mid-2000s with Didier Drogba et al. Kind of feels like the same. If Liverpool's the Red Sox, that's my comp. What is Liverpool? Liverpool's the Red Sox. What is Manchester United? Manchester United is the Yankees. Who's Chelsea? San Diego? Who's Liverpool? I don't know. The Clearwater Threshers. In the purchase of the Padres, Feliciano and Jones beat out 3 other bidders, according to The Athletic, including Detroit Pistons owner Tom Gores, Golden State Warriors owner Joe LaCobe, and Dan Friedkin, owner of the Premier League club Everton. All these American investors, private equity or not, are moving into professional sports because professional sports is an asset class that goes up consistently, doesn't, and I've never seen it go down. Have you ever seen the value of a Major League Baseball team go down in value? Okay, think about how about an NFL team? Dallas Cowboys were purchased by Jerry Jones however many years ago for how many millions of dollars? 100? Don't quote me on this. Maybe 200? A lot of money. Of course. Update that for inflation? Yeah, totally understood. The value of these franchises is going up because it's more sexy now than ever to own a professional sports franchise. The Padres boosted payrolls that exceeded $200 million every year since 2021, while locking in stars like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts, Joe Musgrove, and Yu Darvish. Petco Park became one of the most electric ballparks in Major League Baseball, continually setting attendance records while serving as a destination spot in downtown San Diego. All true. But Seidler's death in November 2023 triggered a legal battle between his widow, Sheil, and his siblings over control of the team. 2 years later, John Seidler serving as chairman. The team announced it was exploring possibility of a sale. The uniqueness ultimately prompted a record valuation, even though the new owners will take on what sources have described as hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. Is it always peachy to own these teams? No. Is it an enterprise in making money? Ask the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have said on the record it's about making money. Now, are they spending a little bit more now? Yes, and maybe they realize that when you win, you make more money. Can we convince all teams that if they win, they make more money? Padres, who are riding an 8-game winning streak, congratulations to them, are still seeking the franchise first World Series championship, but have made the playoffs 3 of the past 4 years despite cutting back recent years. Still, payroll up to $200 million with Machado, Tatis, Merrill, Bogaerts, Musgrove, Mason Miller fronting their teams. The Padres still have championship hopes despite sharing a division with 2-time defending champion your Los Angeles Dodgers. The next professional sports franchise to be sold, San Diego Padres, is worth $3.9 billion. What's the next one we're going to see? Other than I'm not thinking about the A's right now. After the A's, I'm interested. Maybe the Rays. Are the Rays going to go for $2.9 billion? At this point, $3.9 billion? At this point, I don't know. Warner Brothers Discovery's quarter shows you where the money is not. The Padres show you where the money is. The next one shows you where it's leaking out. Warner Brothers Discovery, one of the biggest media companies on the planet, reported a quarter last week, and it's a flashing sign about the old pipes that used to fund all of sports. Someone said in the comments, like, you're so excited about talking about the merger, media, whatever. The media business, the old legacy media business, Warner Brothers Discovery, even like as we're talking about the big mega players, Paramount, NBC, Peacock, etc. I've always been fascinated by like the business of media and sports. My major thesis was part of that. Fascinated by the eyeballs towards these gigantic enterprises and the things that they're due to try to leverage like built-in lasting audiences. Fantastic. Per Variety and Newscast Studios, WBD's total revenue fell 11% to $8.7 billion for the quarter, below what Wall Street expected. Advertising revenue dropped about 22%, and the company pointed directly to losing the NBA as a driver. Note, sport as a driver for revenue for legacy media such as Warner Brothers Discovery, who is in talks to be acquired by Paramount, and Netflix shot up the price. And you see why it's fascinating, because it is so political. I love F1 because the races are 90 minutes, but because it is just drama week in and week out. I love it. This is the same way. Net income fell sharply to about $149 million from more than $1.5 billion a year earlier, but the streaming segment told the other half of the story. Streaming profits rose about 75% to roughly $512 million, with streaming revenue up to 10%. Read those two numbers next to each other. Streaming profit rose 75% to roughly $512 million, with streaming revenue up 10%. The old business, cable, linear, the thing that played billions for sports and old cable packages, DirecTV, etc., the thing that we saw growing up, or if you're a little bit older in my audience, as you saw it blossom as you are reaching working age. Sorry to date you. Ad revenue down 22%, and a chunk of that is simply because they don't have NBA games anymore. When you lose those games, you lose one thing that still pulls live, unskippable audiences. The new business, streaming, is finally making real money, up 70% in profit. So the distribution story in sports media today is not TV is dying. We know this. Watch time is up across the board and every single thing because it's more accessible than ever. But Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount, even Netflix, they're all competing with Netflix, but who's Netflix competing with? YouTube, TikTok. What is YouTube's operating expenses? Yes, it costs a lot of money to be able to intake that much video, to process that much video, etc., etc. But people add content to their platform and they barely pay those people anything. They a little bit of ad spend, fine. A little bit of ad, whatever, fine. People can't compete with YouTube or TikTok because the content that's being added to those platforms is being made for free and uploaded to those. Now, does it cost money for Warner Brothers or whatever, Peacock, to record like a World Cup? Yes, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the addition to the platforms. YouTube's not paying distributors for that. They're not paying people for that. They're paying like a little bit of ad money. So all of these platforms, take Netflix, for example. Take Disney Plus, for example. Disney itself has the theme parks, and they got the cruise ships, and they have all of the things that make them money. And Disney says, well, we need to be more like TikTok. We need to have the feed that HBO Max, all these apps are going to have exactly like TikTok. Well, why? Because they're competing with TikTok. Because they're competing for those eyeballs with TikTok. So if Disney Plus wants you to spend 90 plus minutes on it a day, and that's where they make more money on somebody with a free plan than they do on somebody with a subscription plan because of advertising. What is the one thing that these platforms want to get people to tune in real time? The only thing left is sports, or if you bring a Hairspray back live on cable. I would love to see that. Please bring it back. Now, why do I bring up this Disney Plus example? Because they spend hundreds of millions of dollars producing a Star Wars show that you're not going to watch because you're exhausted with how many Star Wars shows there are or how many Marvel shows there are. There's too much content that they're creating that's so expensive when you can just say, okay, I'm not going to watch that Marvel show. I don't understand where things are going. It cost me $100 million to buy Robert Downey Jr. to be in another movie. Okay, I'm not totally caught up on where Marvel is. And Disney's competing with TikTok or Instagram Shorts. And in a lot of cases, TikTok has full movies or most of the clips or movies that are streamed on TikTok. Like, when the thing that you're competing with, Warner Bros. Discovery or whoever, Paramount or whoever, makes their content for free, what's the only thing you can have left? Sports. The distribution story in sports media is that TV is not dying, it's the pipe switching. The money is moving from the cable bundle, the revenue bundle, the rundle, to the app, from the affiliate fee to the subscription and the ad-supported tier. And the ad-supported tier is making more money than the subscription in a lot of cases. And the companies feel it as a pain in the transition, even when the destination is healthier. Same idea as the Padres. The market is repricing what a media company is worth based on what side of that switch it's on. The multiple is on the streaming line now, not the media one. So here's the read. For 100 years, the value in sports content sat with whoever controlled the network. The reason a network could pay $3 billion for rights was that it owned the only pipe into your living room. That monopoly is gone. The pipe is now in-app streaming, and apps are cheap to build, and the audience can be owned directly, which means that the leverage that used to belong only to networks is now in small pieces. We are in this longer transition as we have seen all of these things jump into streaming. Oh, Disney has an app now. Oh, all of these pieces are moving together. What's live here? What's not here? Who owns this? What owns that? What app is it? Now everything is distributed. It's not all in one place. It's not just on channel 12. The leverage that used to only belong to networks is now in small pieces, available to anyone who can build and hold an audience. That includes athletes. The distribution layer is where the profit is finally showing up, and it's no longer locked behind a nine-figure rights deal. Warner Bros. Discovery revenue is down because they don't have as much live sports anymore to justify subscriptions or to justify viewership. Because if people turn off their subscriptions when the show that they want to watch is over, that's why all of these people are making so many seasons and so many different things, because they want you to keep your subscription because you feel like you got to have it. So they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make shows just for your $15 a month. Or if they just have an ad-supported tier, and now some of them have subscriptions that are ad-supported, like, obviously that's a tell. But that's why all of these platforms are trying to jump into live sports. This is the reason why all of these platforms are trying to jump into live sports. Because that's the real reason to have a subscription. If you are a sports fan, which a lot of people in America are, and around the world are, the value to these platforms is to host live sports. Warner Bros. Discovery has a great story to tell about its streaming business, if only its other operations didn't get in the way. The parent of HBO, TNT, and Warner Brothers Movie Studios said net income in the second quarter fell significantly as growth at its new tech streaming operations is more than offset by the continued erosion of its cable TV networks and a weaker studio lineup than in the year earlier period. TV ad sales fell 22% due to Warner's loss of NBA games after the 2025 season, and TV distribution fell due in part to a 10% decrease in the number of subscribers to its network. Less live sports is correlating directly to the less subscriptions. Total revenue fell 11% to $8.7 billion compared to $9.8 billion in the year earlier. Net income attributable to the company fell $149 million from $1.58 billion, partially the result of the $1.1 billion pre-tax acquisition-related amortization of intangibles, content fair value, step up in its restructuring expenses. Warner is in a difficult spot, yes. It needs to continue to manage its operations, even though it has agreed to be purchased by Paramount Skydance, the Ellisons. Now, it's won approval, but it's being held up in federal court. Subscriptions are going down. What can they do? We've talked about this before on the show. Warner had some bright spots. Streaming revenue rose above $3 billion for the first time thanks to an increase in 10%. It was aided by the expansion of HBO Max. Rest in peace, Max. Well, welcome back, HBO Max. In various markets around the globe. In a move that counters conditions at its TV networks, Warner said advertising and distribution revenue increased due to the Minecraft movie, Sinners, Final Destination, Bloodlines. What we're seeing across all of media, across all of sports, more eyeballs now than ever are just watching. People are watching. I hope you're watching me. But the value that these organizations have at the highest level is we have content that is locked behind this paywall. You pay us. We'll show ads at the lower tier. Give us money. Yum, 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 yum. But what is the last thing that's tuned in television? Sport. And sport knows how to make money. Sport will go to the highest bidder. And I'm excited to see what happens with this Paramount sell-off. Netflix boosted the price, certainly. Paramount is overspending on its acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery for this content library, which includes Game of Thrones, which includes other incredibly valuable assets like the Minecraft movie. As we think and as we consider media itself as part of the ecosystem, the reason why these valuations of these teams, or the reason why these teams are worth so much, is because in large part to the media deals. It was shot down a couple of years ago that the leagues would own their own distribution. I don't see that as such a bad thing, but that would monopolize everything, and the cost of participating would go up because these teams want to make more money. So it's a constant give and take in sport media, for sure. And we are at this very interesting tipping point where we are now seeing subscriptions and platforms, I think, in more households than we are seeing traditional cable bundles and boxes. And long term, what is this going to mean ultimately for the future of the valuation of these sports teams, as more of it is jumping into these platform by platform things rather than one bundle? Excited to see this show presented by Marvelous. Marvelous, an all-in-one platform helping health insurance agencies take action. Thoughtful. Built to scale with you and your organization. Smart people working on health insurance. And for health insurance agency owners out there, go to Marvelous for help with your agency. Get-marvelous.com. Tom Brady isn't lending his name. He's jumping into an industry that needs a real and full owner. Brady goes all in on CardVault. Before writing today's show, I had never heard of CardVault. That's on me. I am not a collectibles guy. I am learning about this in real time. A lot of these topics I am. Alongside you. Every day on this show, I try to bring you one story about an athlete acting like an owner, not just as a spokesperson. That is true. Today is Tom Brady. Tom Brady, who has his fingers in a lot of things. This one is trading cards. Per Front Office Sports, Brady co-founded the current version of CardVault in 2024 and owns half of the company. The company's co-founder says revenue grew 400% from 2025 to 2026, and that every store to date is profitable. CardVault's 17 location set to open in Palo Alto with plans for 40 stores by 2028 and an ambition to reach 100. Brady's co-founder says the two of them communicate daily about the business, not just the brand. Now, the easy version of this story is famous athlete slaps his name on a thing. We see that 100 times a year. A logo, a licensing check, a photo op, done. This is the other version. Brady is very hands-on and owns half the company. He's in it daily, and the business is actually working. 400% revenue growth and a real store count roadmap toward 100 locations. That's not an endorsement. Brady is taking steps as an actual operator running this business. Notice what the business actually is. Trading cards, Pokemon memorabilia itself, and grading. It's a nostalgia and collectibles retail play riding a genuine boom. Boom that started, has been going on for a long time with sports fans, but really boomed during COVID. And Brady's face and story are a distribution advantage, not the product. His name gets people in the door. The unit economics keep them open. This is a combination that matters. Here's the window idea. Brady's on-field window closed, but he's Tom Brady, and he part owns the Raiders, and he does this, and he's on TV every day, and he's got the largest NFL off-field platform. He's Tom freaking Brady. You're not Tom Brady. Aaron Donald's not Tom Brady. Aaron Donald wants to start his own media company. Good on him. Tom Brady said, let me go in half because I'm seeing an opportunity to use my brand and my name, image, and likeness to increase the visibility of this company. You don't have Tom Brady's name or his check sizes or his Rolodex. He's Tom freaking Brady. But you don't need his scale to run his playbook. The playbook is take the audience that you have built as a professional athlete, college athlete, Olympic athlete, the window that access to your athletic window gives you. Take the audience and the access your athletic window gives you and put it behind a real business with real unit economics where you own equity and not just a fee, where you're participating in the upside and maybe a step further than just sending in a check. Brady could have taken a flat licensing fee. For sure. Totally. A lot of athletes do, and he does in a lot of cases. But he took half the company instead. Over 10 years, those are not close. The money in that is not close. The move for you is the same shape at your scale. Own the thing. Can you start the thing? Well, if you come to Open Athletes, we'll help you start the thing. Can you own the thing? Well, maybe there's opportunities through Open Athletes to meet founders who are building in sports that want a professional athlete co-founder. Be in it daily. Let your name be the distribution and let the business be the business. You don't have to be, as a former professional athlete, current professional athlete, who wants to start a business. Oh, what is his name? He's the backup driver. Jack Doohan, F1 driver, started a tech company. He makes a lot of money being a reserve F1 driver, started a tech company. He's using his brand, is the CEO of this tech company. He's using his brand to create distribution so that more people participate and buy things from his tech company. I think AI something. When should you as an athlete take equity over a cash endorsement? When should you just take the endorsement? When is cash a smarter call? When is equity the smaller call? When is being the operator the smartest call? When you're building a business and you want to bring on a co-founder, you can't both be excellent at one thing. You have to share in that. Tom Brady knows how to distribute better than anybody. Tom Brady knows how to be Tom Brady better than anybody. Let these guys run the business. Let these guys run the technical aspects of the business and the scale, and let Tom Brady do what Tom Brady does best. We're seeing that that's valuable. And where can you, future professional athlete, current college athlete, professional, what Olympic athlete, you're going to have opportunities to participate in the upside here, either through equity, but through your window. People want to be associated with you. How can you leverage that? That's what Tom Brady is doing at a very high level. We're going to talk and show examples of the Tom Bradys and the Kevin Durants, but we can take this playbook and apply it elsewhere. Tom Brady explains his aggressive push into trading cards. After Tom Brady retired from the NFL, he signed a 10-year, $375 million deal to be Fox's lead game analyst. Greg Olson's better. The legendary quarterback who made more than $330 million in his 23-year pro football career also took ownership stakes in at least 4 franchises in 2 countries, including the NFL's Raiders. Perhaps most notably, He has amassed an enormous portfolio of endorsements in recent years and has done ads for Pizza Hut, Dunkin' Donuts, Hertz, Subway, Ferrero Chocolates, Ninja Air Fryers, and Shark Vacuums, Delta Airlines, Oakley, and GoPuff, and T-Mobile, WebEx, Duracell. He also folded his apparel and nutrition brand, Brady brand, into TB12, into Mike Ripoll's No Bull. Oh, I didn't know that. That's a really great idea. When he became a majority shareholder. One remaining business has Brady's name in bright lights on the door. CardVault by Tom Brady. The company is expanding at a frenzied pace. There isn't one in your town already. There will be one soon. To find out why brick and mortar card shops are getting so much of Tom Brady's time and attention, Front Office Sports sat down with Brady at Fanatics Fest in New York City in July. Much of these links, Google it, but much of these links will be in our weekly newsletter on what we learned this week. I'm guessing this will be in that. Subscribe to our newsletter at openathletes.substack.com. But because this article is absolutely fascinating. Brady is a hobbyist. Brady enjoys it. Don't buy something. Don't invest in something. Don't be day-to-day something if you're not going to like it. Now, you can do an endorsement and Ninja Air Fryers. You don't have to be obsessed and know every single thing about a Ninja Air Fryer. Yeah, of course, right? But when your name is on something, have the passion to do it every single day. What's my example? I love that I get to sit here and have this conversation with you, with an audience, every single day and talk about the business of sports and the application of that back to the participants in sport, the entrepreneurs that are building something in sport, the athletes that want to or are currently in the window to build something in sport, and if you're a former athlete, how you can get back into your window. I love that. If there was one viewer every single day, totally fine with me. The act of getting up in the morning and reading the news and writing the script, that's the fun part to me. I don't care 10 years from now, if I'm still lucky enough to have the passion to do this, I'll be happy to do this. There's a reason why I'm committing so much time to doing this. Tom Brady feels the same way about the thing that he's building. Now, starting off with being Tom Brady is a huge advantage, of course. But it's in the participation in the thing that you are doing where the outcome doesn't matter. Now, at the end of the day, do the dollars matter? Well, for me, Open Athletes cost me $0 to run. It's a lot of sweat. But the sweat is worth it because the outcome can be so great. Helping athletes start businesses. Helping entrepreneurs understand how to participate in the athlete economy. A couple different markets here. But if Open Athletes for me in the next 10 years makes me $0 and I still come here and I'm excited to jump on the mic and have the conversation with you every single day, or the conversation with nobody, that's not a failure to me. To me, the value in it is having fun in the thing that I'm doing. Tom Brady feels the same way. Where can you feel the same way in building something? Where is your passion? Now, passion doesn't always mean follow that passion. Be smart about where you spend your time and money. But how can you take your expertise and your window and your opportunities and the things that you do best and create an avenue for you to follow those things? And doors open themselves up as you continue to take a step forward and pursue the daily work of doing those things. That's the fun part. That's what I'm trying to teach you, is that it's not always about the financial lucrative outcome, because you are an athlete and you have an opportunity to make connections and raise money and do things that are important as you build this enterprise that you're trying to build, but it's not always about that outcome. Now, it is if you need the money or if you are investing all of your earnings into an endeavor. Yes. Separate from that, Tom Brady loved trading cards and sought a lot of value in like participating in this economy, and it's putting his name on it because he's passionate about that thing. And that's what's going to make this successful. And it already has been successful for him because he's been able to take his interest and do that. For me, why did I start Mind Ready? Today's show is presented by Mind Ready. Why did I start Mind Ready? I was a former athlete. And at the time when I was playing, I realized that there was no sufficient mental health coaching at any level that I had ever received. Now, there is a little bit more because these independent consultants and practitioners are more plentiful. There are more opportunities to become educated and be a sports psychologist. Yes, which is valuable. And so Mind Ready brings together organizations that want to offer this with coaches that are experts in this. Now, your organization might have a mental health practitioner as part of the roster. That's amazing. Number one, that person's really expensive for the facility to offer, for the team to offer. Number two, why would I trust the mental health coach who is employed by my team? Will I trust that person has my best interest in mind? It's not always clear cut. I can talk to them about these things. If you're a professional athlete, you know this. So what Mind Ready does is we connect coaches with organizations, but we also ensure that the organization itself is doing what it can to support the mental health and well-being of its athletes and the education that coaches and the community need to support the athletes at a high level. That is Mind Ready. That is why Mind Ready exists. And we work with, thank you so much. And we work with sport organizations, college organizations, youth professional college organizations to ensure that we can build a program that an organization can maintain, and we can make the connection between a mental health practitioner and your coaching staff. We also work with workplaces too, because we understand that the sports psychology angle to things is a lot different than the EAP angle, the mental health angle. Why am I bringing this up in the same way that I was bringing up the Tom Brady stuff? It's because where is the problem that you see? Can you solve that problem by building something? Can you use your name or your platform or whatever to increase the visibility on that thing? Many of these businesses solve problems. All of these businesses solve problems. Businesses solve problems. But many of these businesses that are on our Chiron, or the things that I've started in my life and career, are because I'm seeing a problem that I want to spend my time solving. What can you spend your time solving? Tom Brady is passionate about cards and saw the problem of not enough high-end, luxury-ish card places. And Tom Brady's name is really valuable. So yes, I will buy from Tom Brady if I am interested in this, if I like the way that he's doing things. Mark Cuban versus the Mavs over a new arena. Mark Cuban, getting in the drama. We talked about him last week a bit with the A's. But this is another chapter of his Mavs ownership. This next one is a soap opera, but it's a soap opera with a real lesson about what ownership actually means once you sign the papers. Mark Cuban, the guy who was the face of the Dallas Mavericks for over 2 decades, is now fighting the people he sold control to. Per Front Office Sports and Yahoo Sports, Cuban filed a pre-suit petition accusing Mavs governor Patrick Dumont of excluding him from the franchise's biggest business move in decades, a potential new arena. Cuban claims Dumont was obligated to keep him informed about a possible purchase of roughly 104 acres at the former Valley View Mall site in Dallas and did not. Dumont's side argues Cuban must arbitrate the dispute privately, pointing to a broad arbitration provision in Cuban's limited partnership agreement. Dumont also claims Cuban structured his filing to avoid that arbitration clause and objected the public media attention it created. Let me be careful and precise here. These are claims and allegations on both sides and not proven facts yet. And I'm going to keep them framed this way. Cuban alleges he was cut out. Dumont's side alleging Cuban filed the way he did to dodge a private arbitration clause. A court hasn't ruled on who's right yet. Strip out the celebrity, and let's zoom into the structural lesson. When Cuban sold majority control of the Mavericks, he kept a minority stake and a limited partnership agreement with the Dumont family, the owners of the Mavericks, and a limited partner, no matter how famous, no matter that he was owner of the team for 20 years, does not automatically get a seat in every big decision. The paperwork decides that. Not the history, not the vibes, but the paperwork. File this next to everything else we've talked about today. Cuban owns a piece of this business, of this franchise. He may not own the layer that makes the calls on the arena or what's happening on the court. Owning a piece and owning the ability to make the decisions are different things. This is the part that you, the athlete or the operator in sports, have to internalize, because so many will get offered equity or a piece or an advisor stake in your career. I have been offered that multiple times. Invest in this. I'll have the opportunity to advise this company, but I will get no voting shares. I will not be able to participate in decision-making for this company. That to me is not worth it in a majority of cases. I want to, if I'm going to spend my time, I want to participate in the decision-making and the upside, as much as I am in the upside. A piece is not control. The terms are the whole deal. What are your information rights? Your consent rights? What triggers arbitration and where? Who decides when the big money moves? Cuban is one of the sharpest. Cuban did a great job by selling broadcast.com at the right time to Yahoo and invested that in sports and became Mark Cuban because he rode a wave. But Cuban is very good at staying in the public eye. And now he's in a public fight over exactly these things. If it can happen to him, read your documents. The deal is never the headline number. The deal is the terms under the number. Mavericks owner Patrick Dumont hits back at Mark Cuban in arena fight. Dumont says Cuban is demanding a role in a deal that does not yet constitute a business opportunity. Where is the line? What do the documents say? What does the contract say? What did Mark Cuban agree to? What did he not agree to? What does he understand? What does Patrick Dumont understand? The legal dispute between Mark Cuban and Patrick Dumont over potential new Mavericks arena site is heating up. With Dumont now arguing Cuban is demanding involvement in a deal that does not yet even constitute a business opportunity. Cuban filed a petition in Texas state court last month aimed at obtaining information he claims could show that Dumont unlawfully cut him out of opportunities after he sold his majority stake to Dumont and the Adelson family in 2023. Dumont says otherwise. He said Dumont had an obligation to keep Cuban apprised of the potential purchase of a 104 acres at the former Valley View Mall site in Dallas, which the Mavs announced as a possibility in June. According to Cuban, Dumont did not notify him. Dumont hit back in July in a filing that's redacted. His filing removed the case to Texas State Court to Texas Business Court. It says that ADI has not yet exercised its option to purchase the property yet. Nevertheless, Mr. Cuban has demanded that he be involved in the operation process. The filing says because of the nature of the Valley View option, there is no current business opportunity presented to Mr. Cuban or its petitioners. Know your terms. Know your terms of what you're agreeing to. We'll see what comes of it. We will come back to this. This is an important athlete, business, sport story and something to discuss. Another important thing to discuss is we talked about last week. FIFA tried to sell a piece of the World Cup and things went crazy. FIFA's $20 billion World Cup sell-off implodes. Here's the wildest business story in sports right now. Yes, this is the second time FIFA's tried to do this over the last couple of years. And it's a case study in what happens when you try to sell equity in the wrong thing to the wrong room without telling anyone. FIFA, the governing body of world soccer, floated a plan to privatize a chunk of the World Cup, chunk of itself because of the World Cup, and has blown up into a full-blown leadership crisis. Per CNN and ESPN, FIFA had proposed spinning the commercial and operational rights to its events, including the World Cup, into a new subsidiary, aiming to raise about $4.2 billion by selling roughly a 20% stake at a valuation near $20 billion. Per CNN Reported investors including the New York firm of Joshua Kushner, brother of Jared Kushner, son-in-law to President Donald Trump, and the proposal surfaced through media reports rather than an open public process. Per CNN and Al Jazeera, after a global backlash, Infantino said the plan was scrapped. Not his first time doing this, with UEFA having warned the soul and governance of the game were under threat and even threatening to boycott future World Cups. Per Al Jazeera and The National on Saturday, FIFA hit back, decrying a concerted and ongoing effort to undermine FIFA and its president as UEFA and several federations call Infantino to resign. Let me be clear. Live governance fight. Claims are framed as claims. UEFA and other federations are calling for Infantino to step down. FIFA says there's a coordinated effort to undermine its president, and there are separate personal allegations that surfaced in the press, which FIFA has called categorically untrue and defamatory. Nobody has ruled on it at all. What is not in dispute is the business move itself. FIFA tried to sell about a fifth of its crown jewel, the world's biggest event, for around $4 billion, and the reaction was so violent and the pushback was so heavy, they pulled it. All week last week, we were saying, own the layer, take equity, own the distribution. FIFA sits on maybe the single most valuable distribution asset on earth, the World Cup. It's exceptional. It's the greatest it's amazing. Every 4 years, it gets better. Even though the final wasn't great, it gets better every year. And the lesson here is not don't own the equity. It's that selling the equity in your crown jewel quietly to outside money is exactly how you lose the trust that made it valuable in the first place. Now, did they have the most trust in the world? They are FIFA. They will always find opportunities to make a little more. This is the news. Here's the read, as athletes builders should know. Equity is a leverage, but who you sell it to and how you do it is the entire game. FIFA had all the leverage in the world and torched a huge amount of whatever trust they had left in about a week by trying to go private in secret with these parties on the one thing its whole community feels they collectively own and gather around. Now, UEFA, good on UEFA for putting pressure on them and saying that they wouldn't send their clubs to the World Cup if it happened in this way. The only thing stopping this thing from happening was public and private pushback. The reason why it didn't happen in a lot of ways is because the pushback was so negative. The money is so there, but it would crater and significantly hinder their ability to make money long term if UEFA pulled out. And UEFA would pull out. UEFA stands on its business and does the thing that it says, whether you agree with them all of the time or not. UEFA would have pulled out if this happened. And there would have been a whole thing, and the World Cup would have been up in the air. That's just my view of it when threats like that are thrown around. When you sell a piece of your thing, your brand, your company, your audience, the terms matter. The partners matter. And the trust of the people who made it valuable matters more than the size of the check. You take the money from the wrong room, the wrong way, and you can raise $4 billion and still end up fighting to keep your job. Was FIFA's instinct to monetize the World Cup as equity actually smart, but botched or wrong from the jump? We said last week that FIFA has earned the right to sell, has built up the World Cup to be such a global phenomenon every 4 years. The value of the World Cup is due in large part because of how FIFA operates. Wrong and right. FIFA's been wrong. Watch the documentaries. You can oppose everything that FIFA and Infantino and Sepp Blatter and the history of FIFA. Do they own the World Cup? They put on the World Cup. They host the World Cup. It's the FIFA World Cup. They are a nonprofit, which is why some of the money is a little murky sometimes, allegedly. Allegedly. But can they do this? I'm not saying wrong or right. I see both sides of it. I mean, I don't love it, right? but they own the event. What if UEFA was like, yeah, we want to do this for the Euros too? They are the ones that own the rights to the Euros. Couldn't they just do it? FIFA owns the right to the World Cup. The Olympics owns the right to the Olympics. Nothing's stopping them as a business to doing it. I might get a lot of heat for that one. Is it wrong to do it from a sporting perspective, from making money from something that isn't yours? What makes it not yours? Because we all watch it and we all participate in it? Do they have the right to sell the World Cup, an equity stake in the upside of the World Cup? That is the question at hand. That is the very interesting question at hand. Now, if I'm FIFA now, what do? We'll walk it all back. If I'm Infantino, walk it all back. Say, I goofed. And if he continues to pursue this, he could lose his job because now could be a faction inside FIFA and there could be a vacuum in power. And that is how FIFA works. Is Infantino making them more money now? Yes, because the value of the World Cup has gone up exponentially since he took over. Yes. Every World Cup is going to make more and more and more and more money than the last. FIFA is benefiting from it. And it's the governing bodies that are participating in FIFA, and the global game is growing, and the money that they do end up giving to the academies wherever hopefully is more. Again, eyeballs are limited because they're a nonprofit. Right, that's why all these documentaries came out. What I'm trying to say is, don't get in bed with somebody that you don't trust, or don't continue to pursue it if the backlash is so vehemently against you. FIFA scraps controversial $20 billion World Cup investment plan. FIFA's proposed plan to sell private stakes in upcoming World Cup tournaments that sparked backlash from fans and soccer associations around the world has been scrapped, FIFA President Gianni Infantino said in a statement Friday. Having listened carefully to all views, it has become clear that the project has created of a nature that, regardless of the level of support, are no longer in the interest and the objectives set out in the first place. Infantino said, "Our purpose has always been and will always be to unite and improve." As a result, the proposal will not proceed. FIFA and Infantino announced plans Tuesday to set up a separate subsidiary involving private equity investment that would control the commercial and operational rights to one of the globe's biggest sporting events. The proposal has come under intense scrutiny and criticism from many around the world, with UEFA saying the soul and governance of the game are under threat. FIFA, though, said the money generated will be reinvested back into the sport. Infantino said it is now his goal to reunite world football following this debacle. He united world football by hosting the World Cup. He now has to reunite it because the timing of the thing that he's doing was very, very bad. Infantino found himself increasingly isolated as pressure and opposition built up. I need to get rid of this dictionary. Up against World Soccer's governing body's plan to inject private money into its competitions, European Soccer's governing body UEFA threatened Thursday to boycott future men's and World Cups events in reaction. Yes. CONCACAF and the Asian Football Federation later came out with statements rejecting FIFA's proposal by stopping the short of a boycott. A spokesperson of the Oceania Football Confederation said that FIFA proposal would be addressed by the entity's executive committee in August. Is Infantino on the outs? Is he going to be forced out? How much longer is left in his term? Does the amount of money he made in this World Cup and the last one justify his reason for staying? Did he go too far above his skis? He certainly did. Certainly did. Is FIFA selling itself bad for football? Yeah, obviously. I'm not going to argue with that. The question is, and I can't answer it here, but the question is, does he have the right? Some people say yes, of course. They own the rights to the FIFA World Cup, and he should be able to sell it right. And some people say, no, it's the global, they're a nonprofit, it's a global sports game. Very, very interesting. Here to report the facts, folks. Thank you. How do you feel about Gianni Infantino? How do we feel about FIFA? How do we feel about Mercedes F1?
Home run!
Mercedes F1 is now a $6 billion machine. Money Markets Monday. That is what today is for. This week, Joe Pompliano and Huddle Up broke down how the Mercedes Formula One team is now worth about $6 billion. 20 races, global brand, $6 billion. Padres just sold for 3.9. Seattle Seahawks just sold for 6.8. Think about the value of these sporting franchises. OpenAI on the open market right now, or might IPO at $1 trillion. Twitter was bought for $44 billion. Apples and oranges, but I always like to compare the valuation of these things with the tech side of the business. Tech side of business itself. Per Huddle Up at ESPN, Toto Wolff agreed to sell roughly a 5% effective share of the Mercedes F1 team in a deal that values the team at about $6 billion. The buyer is CrowdStrike founder George Kurtz, who is taking the share via a stake in Wolff's holding company. Wolff owns about 28% of the team, a position that is 28 to 33%. I think I've seen the numbers. A position that is now well worth over $1 billion on paper. Reports peg an earlier partial sale by Wolff at around $230 million, showing how fast F1 team valuations have climbed, due in large part to its visibility. It's on Apple TV, Drive to Survive. $6 billion for a racing team. It has 20 races a year, but is a global brand. A decade ago, Formula One was a European motorsport with a shrinking American audience and teams that mostly lost money. When the sport fixed its distribution with Drive to Survive and now the US races, streaming and social strategy, the audience exploded. When Liberty Media bought it for $6 billion and now it's worth $20 billion, something like that. And when the audience exploded, the enterprise value of every team on the grid re-rated from Haas to Mercedes to Ferrari. There's our multiple again. There's our layer. Wolff didn't just coach a team, which he did. He's one of the many, many reasons why they won 10 straight championships. He's one of the reasons why F1 is so important globally. He owns a chunk of the team, so when the whole sports audience grew, the equity grew with it. A salary team principal would have gotten a raise, an owner got $1 billion position. That is the entire thesis of our show. Toto Wolff invested properly to be able to even buy the equity in the company, in the racing team initially. And when the distribution of the sport improved, he bought it on the up and is now selling it at a peak, maybe to get liquid, maybe not. Maybe he wants more investment to come in. Maybe he wants more money to flow. Is he going to win a title this year with Kimi? I don't know. Maybe with George. Yeah, we have Kimi and we have George and we're very sorry. We're very sorry to George that the car has not been as consistent as Kimi's this year. The question is, can I own a piece of the upside I'm helping create? Athletes are the reason the audience shows up. Toto Wolff, too, and the entertainment value that he brings to the sport. The audience is the reason the valuations explode. And for 100 years, athletes took the fee and let someone else keep the equity, and that's the pattern we're trying to break. F1 teams' valuations went vertical off of better distribution and visibility. The reason why F1 is because Apple TV, because of Drive to Survive, because of eyeballs, because of global brand. And the entertainment value of F1 is so high, and they do things to keep you interested 12 months a year. In the NFL, we say, as fans, the season starts in August. I do my fantasy draft, whatever. Season ends after the Super Bowl. In F1, it's week to week to week. The politics and the money and the movement and all of these things happen at such a rapid pace that there are things happening 12 months a year. And now with the draft and with the combine and with all the things that the NFL does, they are trying to also be a 12-month thing. Like the eyeballs, the participation in the sport in the off season is as impactful now as it ever has been. Formula One with 20 races a year. Maybe there's going to be more soon. Maybe less this year because of the tensions in the Middle East and a bunch of races got moved. But 20 races, 20 weekends a year. same amount of weekends-ish as the NFL. 17 games plus playoffs. Roughly the same amount of weekends of sport. NFL has more teams, more events. Obviously, everything is one race. But the global growth of F1 with less activity, price per race higher, the revenue per race that they're making, the value per race that they have is higher in F1 than it is in the NFL. 20 weekends a year. Obviously, it costs billions of dollars to make sure this car works week in and week out. 20 weekends a year, they're worth $6 billion. 22-ish weekends a year in the NFL, Seahawks are worth $6.8 billion. Apples and oranges, right? But the value of this is because of A, exclusivity, B, sexy to own. It's the sexiest sport in the world to own right now, F1. Everyone wants to be in F1. Everybody wants to be in the Premier League. Everybody wants to be in the NFL. People are seeing opportunities to invest in Major League Baseball. The value of sports franchises are increasing drastically. I will work on my Toto impression. Yaki me. Today's take. Own the layer. Money in Markets Monday means, well, every day is money in markets. Every day is own your layer. Every day is a distribution. But specifically for today, a baseball team that has never won a World Series, sold for $3.9 billion. Media giant lost 11% of its revenue in a quarter because it doesn't have the NBA anymore. Even though streaming profit jumped 75%. Tom Brady turned his name into half ownership of a company growing 400% a year. And Mark Cuban, one of the most well-known owners in sports, is in a public fight because owning a piece turned out not to mean owning the decision, or the decision was unclear, or he's trying to rebuy the team, or whatever it might be. I don't know. Allegedly. FIFA tried to quietly sell off a piece of the World Cup to outside money and set its own house on fire. And now its president is fighting to keep his job. And Racing Team is worth $6 billion because it fixed its distribution and the owners held equity while the audience exploded. I told you at the top, every one of these is really about a multiple. Here's the multiple. Every single one of these stories, the price of the same asset went up faster than the thing itself was getting better. The Padres didn't start winning championships, and that's why they were more valuable. Mercedes didn't invent a new engine, but they are the most valuable brand. Ferrari is the most valuable brand, but they are also one of the most valuable brands in global motorsport. Warner Brothers Discovery streaming didn't cure cancer. What changed is that the market decided that owning the asset, and specifically owning the distribution that asset controls, is worth more every single year. The receipts. Padres record at $3.9 billion. Sold at an MLB record, up from $2.4 billion a couple of years ago with the New York Mets. The San Diego Padres now worth $1 billion more than the New York Mets. Well, I mean, if the Mets will go up for sale, would it go more than the San Diego Padres? Mercedes at $6 billion because of the Netflix boom, because of their global audience now, because it's sexy to be a fan. They're doing things the right way in terms of gaining a better audience. Warner Brothers Discovery's profit finally showing up on streaming. Not due in large part because they are participating in global sport. 3 different sports, 3 different countries, 1 direction. Here's the tension. The honest counterpoint: own equity. It's easy to say for me. I've started things. I've been able to participate in things. Most athletes will never get offered a real ownership stake. The checks that buy teams are private equity checks for the most part now. The Cuban story is a warning that even when you do own a piece, the terms can leave you on the outside. Equity can go to zero, and a fee never does. All true. But watch what the biggest players are actually doing, because their behavior is the tell. Feliciano, who bought the Padres, is buying the whole team, not a suite. Tom Brady took half of the company, not a licensing fee. Toto Wolff held his equity through the boom instead of cashing out early. The people with the most information and the most options are choosing ownership and distribution over and over and over, even with the risk. Well, in sports, there really is no risk right now. Professional sports franchises, companies building in sports are in some ways having a tough time getting into the room because the room is already oversaturated. How do you differentiate? This stuff that we're talking about with Toto Wolff is not an accident. That's them telling you where the value went. The value is in the ownership of these sport franchises. You are not the talent. You are the distribution. We've said it 6 days in a row in the show. The reason the Padres are worth $3.9 billion is their audience, and the going rate of Major League Baseball teams has increased, and it's valuable. It's a valuable asset to own, and it is a luxury asset to now own. Sport is now operating in the same way as a Louis Vuitton bag, as a Birkin bag. I watch Sex and the City. I know my bags. The reason Mercedes is worth $6 billion is the audience. The reason Warner Bros. Discovery is bleeding a lot of its money is that it lost games to hold that audience. Every dollar in this industry traces back to attention. For 100 years, you generated it, somebody else owned it. Michael Jordan was one of the first, not the first, to get a shoe deal. Good for him for taking a percentage of the upside, but what was the upside? I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know. 1% of revenue? Something. I don't know. What I'm saying is own something. The window you're in, mine was 2 years, 5 years with Olympic stuff, 10 years if you're playing 4 years in college, 4 or 5 in the NFL. What about the NBA? What's your lifespan? You don't always have to throw a check at something. Now, diversify. The window is short. That's not a motivational line. It's an accounting fact. You have a finite number of quarters where your name opens doors and your audience is at its peak. When it comes, it doesn't reopen at the same size. Years ago, I helped organize minor league baseball players, guys making about $3,000 a year, into an actual force. We got into rooms. We changed the conversation the way that we needed to. We built enough trust to raise about $2.5 million and push nearly all of it back to the players. We basically spent that money to gain the trust. The trust is now the Minor League Baseball Players Union, which lives under the Major League Baseball Players Association, and is now the largest athletic body of athletes in professional sports. Why do I tell you this? None of it came from being the most talented. We were able to get into the room. I was a 31st round pick. It's not like I had the money to invest in whatever. I signed for $5,000. It's like $3,400 after tax. I knew that access and audience were our assets. We mentioned last week, More Than Baseball gained national prominence in our little corner of the internet and our little corner of baseball because we had major league players wear cleats that we bought for them. They designed them. They wore them on the field. They donated them back to us, and we sold them at auction with Major League Baseball auctions to fans who wanted to participate in the support of minor league baseball players. Everybody knew it was to support minor league baseball players through More Than Baseball. We were not screaming from the rooftops, build a union, build a union, build a union. We told our story in the right way. We had an opportunity in the window that we could open to solve this problem. Our lesson is we were able to own our layer, our opportunity, our window. We owned an equity. We were a nonprofit, but we owned the equity in the decision-making that was going to happen as we were participating in changing the economics of Major League Baseball. What can you do as an athlete to get into these rooms and get into these windows so that you can also own a literal stake in companies? I know athletes that early on in the ring, Oura Ring, that were able to invest in Oura Ring very early on. Only because they were athletes, because they we're able to make the connection and we're able to invest. And now we're participating in the upside. And have they helped build that upside? Well, Aura has athlete investors. Those athletes have audiences. The value of Aura has grown. Everybody wins. Own your audience directly instead of renting it out to a platform or taking a check. Tom Brady owns half this company. Toto Wolff owns this team. Christian Horner does not own a team. Own the relationship, the email list, the brand, the company. Christian Horner, who was released from Red Bull after winning 4 straight championships with Max Verstappen. His rival, Toto Wolff, won 7 straight championships, or 7 straight championships, or something. 7 championships in 10 years, whatever it was. He still in sport, owns a team. Didn't get in trouble, allegedly, like Christian Horner did, but Christian Horner doesn't own a team right now. He's trying, but he doesn't. Toto does. The whole market is repricing ownership and distribution upward. Put yourself in whatever small way you can this year on the side of that trade. I don't want you to just nod. Maybe some of you are like, oh, yeah, don't nod. What is the one place in your life right now where you are taking a flat fee when you can ask or participate in the larger piece? Ask for it. Just ask for it. The worst answer is no. The best answer is yes. The best answer is they actually bring you in on conversations. Pick the one channel where you actually own your audience, your list, your page, your community, word of mouth, your network, your contacts. Post something real this week to prove it to yourself and others. Own distribution is the asset that compounds. That's the move. Open athletes. That's open athletes. What are we doing? We're talking about the business of sports. Why are we doing it? To relate what's happening in sports back to the micro. Professional athletes who are thinking about that next step, who are in the business of that next step. You, as an athlete, or somebody building in sport, has an opportunity to be in these windows. We've said it over and over again until I'm blue in the face. You have an opportunity to have these real conversations at a real level, to own the thing that you own in sport. Sport is valuable. Sport is important. Sport is impactful. Sport is growing. Sports are growing exponentially. I haven't seen one franchise at the highest level less in value now than 10 years ago. Now, do I invest in minor league soccer? We'll see. We'll see if we'll see if you should invest in minor league soccer, USL or something. I think it would be cool to own. I think it would be cool to own any professional sports team. Maybe Athletes Fund will own a professional sports team one day. That might be my goal. Go to athletes.fund to learn more. Maybe Open Athletes gets invited to participate. Whatever it might be. That wouldn't happen if we didn't have an audience, if we weren't growing our audience. So what did we learn today? Own your audience. Use the window while it's open. That's the same takeaway every single day. However, when we're looking at actions that are happening in sports, the value of sports is increasing. The ownership value of these teams are increasing, and everybody wants to get in sports. So where's your avenue in? If you want to be in media, media is in sports right now. Warner Bros. Discovery, while being acquired, while being in a complicated place, because they don't have live sports right now, a lot of live sports right now, or the NBA. Got to have the NBA this year. Where is the value of that organization without sport? What can you do? What can you do to increase your value, your opportunity, the leverage that you have in your city, in your community, in your sport itself? There's a lot here. What it comes down to is owning what you can, owning your distribution in the marketplace, and therefore owning a piece of whatever it is that you can participate in as you, the athlete. So that is our show today. Thank you so much for being here. That was Monday, August 10th. I am Jeremy Wolf, former MLB draft pick, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.